Amen. What up, man? Tuesday, January 28th in the NBA. We've got a 4-game slate today. Not a big slate, but I've got 2 of my best bets yesterday. And oh man, if you tailed yesterday's plays, I know you are hyped up. We hit them with a 3-0 sweep yesterday on the plays if you tailed every video play. Ausar Thompson, a little bit sweaty there, was a little bit triggered because I didn't realize how much JB Biggerstaff, the coach there, just despises to play Ausar Thompson. They do not want to play him at all. But his brother over there in Houston is playing huge minutes. Jalen Green under. I know that was a little bit scary for some of you guys. Probably not wanting to take a Jalen Green under, but absolutely sweat free. And then Giannis over 5.5 assists. Absolutely smacks. Now, if you go see what we did in VIP yesterday, you know, you're going to see a lot of red, but some of those plays were definitely more value plays. Ausar Thompson there to go for 8 rebounds and for 10 rebounds. Didn't even really sniff it. He barely hit 5.5. Lakers Hornets under. Cash it pretty easily. It was about around 218, 219. Magic money line, Pelicans -1. If you watch both those games, Magic blow a fourth quarter lead. They were up about 6 points in the first overtime with about a minute and a half left. They were up 6 points and still somehow blow it in that overtime. So Magic blew that game about 2 or 3 separate times. Pelicans -1. They blew it in the fourth quarter. They were up going into the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken, and blew it. Grizzlies, Knicks, flew over, and then Giannis, another little value play there for 8 assists. So you're seeing some red, but really, Magic money line, man, if they don't blow that, Pelicans don't blow it, we're looking like a dang good day, man. But hey, still up 2.8 units, up over 10 units again for the year. Let's keep it rolling. There's only 4 games on today. Not my favorite NBA slate, but we're going to go game by game. I'm going to give you either a pick or a lean or one of my best bets, man. So if you're liking this type of video, if you guys are vibing with any of these plays, let me know down in the comments. Drop a like on this video. It helps me out tremendously, man, in the algorithm. And we're trying to grow the YouTube over here, and I want you guys to be along for the journey. And I appreciate any support, man. So let's get to this first game today, because the first game is going to be the Houston Rockets at the Atlanta Hawks, man. Houston Rockets at the Atlanta Hawks. Houston's about a 6-7 point favorite here. Now, they are on a back-to-back, so if this game is going to scare you in any way with a back-to-back, you know, a weird NBA slate where there's only 4 games. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to these NBA slates. It's like we got a big slate, pretty good slate, and then we got a small slate with a lot of these teams on back-to-backs. Like every game today involves a team that is on a back-to-back. So if you told me in the comments I'm staying away from everything today, I wouldn't even second guess you. But let's check out this game, man. So right here, you know, Houston hasn't been too bad on back-to-backs this year. I am seeing Cam Whitmore is still possibly going to be questionable here. He did sit out last night's game, so, you know, if that's a big name to you, stay away from it. But some Hawks players here that looks like, you know, I feel like this is a game. This slate's already not my favorite, but with a lot of injuries here, Dyson Daniels, he was out yesterday. Trae Young sat yesterday. Now, I'm looking right here. I'm seeing Dyson Daniels is possibly going to sit again today. Trae Young sounds like he's going to come back. Sounds like he was just more resting on a back-to-back because the Hawks did play yesterday. So, like, both these teams on back-to-backs. I did forget that the Hawks played yesterday. Jalen Johnson's still going to be out, and then, like, you got Larry Nance, so he could be out as well. If any of those guys, you know, if any of those names are key guys to you, maybe stay away from this game. But I'm going to look at some player props in this one. You got Trae Young here, about 23.5 points. Not a bad spot for Trae. DeAndre Hunter, 17.5. The man went crazy yesterday. Now, he did kind of carry the Hawks, scoring 30-plus points. Now, if Trae Young comes back and Dyson Daniels comes back, I mean, I don't know if I'm jumping up and down for DeAndre Hunter, but I still think 17.5 is almost too low. I still think that's a little too low, but it is against a Rockets defense. That defense is good. But 17.5, I honestly would probably lean the over there. 18.5 would probably stay away. It's not my favorite play, but I would probably be still leaning the over. Okongwu, not big on him today. I really don't like taking a lot of overs against this Rockets team, but some Rockets players here, for their overs, they're kind of looking sweet. A couple guys I lean over here. Jalen Green, I think he could have a solid one. He's had some big games versus the Hawks in the past. He did have a little bit of a down game yesterday. I took his under yesterday, so we cashed on his under. Today, I kind of definitely more lean his over. I was very close to taking his over, but it's at 21.5 points at -125, -130, and -140 on some books. It's even bumped up to 22.5 on some books. I still lean the over. I know even with the bumps, I still lean the over there. Amin Thompson, Rockets Thompson brother there, he went crazy last night versus the Celtics as well. He's been a dog, man. I don't know what else to say about him. He has just been an animal. Defensive wise, filling up the stat sheet. Offensive, it doesn't matter, man. Points, rebounds, assists, this man's just going crazy. But I do have my first best bet in this game. It is Fred VanVleet over 15.5 points. I love the spot for Fred. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to like Jalen Green, and I don't mind it. A lot of people are probably going to like Trae Young today. And you know what? I lean Trae Young's over as well. But my favorite play in this game is Fred VanVleet over 15.5 points. Some reason behind this play, like I always say, if you're trusting the stats, ride with me. If you're not trusting the stats I'm giving you or the reasoning behind the play, throw it straight in the garbage. But I don't know if you've realized, man, Fred VanVleet's been jacking up a lot of threes recently. He's gotten up 9+ 3-point attempts in 4 of his last 6 games. And if you didn't know, the Hawks rank dead last in that 3-point top of the key defense. So they allow a lot of threes, and they are not very good at defending the top of the key. That's where VanVleet's going to get a lot of his points. He already scored 32 points versus Trae Young and the Hawks last year, and if you are looking, he always gets up the volume versus Trae Young when he faces up versus him. Now, some of these games, he did play with the Raptors, but 1 or 2 of these did play with the Rockets, if I'm not mistaken, maybe just one of these. But he's gotten up 20 shots, 9, 18, 21, 22, 18, and 18 versus Trae Young in his last 7 matchups. Like I said, some of those games he did play with the Raptors, so if you're not trusting the stats, throw it in the garbage. But I still think here, if you're looking, some point guards having good games versus the Hawks. I really just hope he gets around 13, 15 shots, man. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. And a lot of those shots recently have been coming from the 3-point ball. If he just hits his threes today, hits 3-4 threes, which you could even take his threes over. But, I'm trusting his points here at 15.5. He also has hit this 4 of 6 on back-to-backs this year. Now, playing devil's advocate here to kind of push back on my own play. Last year, when you're looking at VanVleet, played with that Rockets team on back-to-backs. He was not very good on back-to-backs last year, hitting this line hardly at all. But I like the spot here versus the Hawks. And, I think Amin Thompson went crazy yesterday. Jalen Green didn't have the greatest game, but I think VanVleet kind of steps up in this one. Liking his over 15.5 points, a decent amount in that one. Second game, Lakers at the Philadelphia 76ers. Spread sitting about 4.5 here. Lakers on back-to-backs, I'm not big fans of the Lakers. If you guys don't already know here, I'm not huge fans of the Lakers. But you know what? Let's go see what they've been doing on back-to-backs this year. The Los Angeles Lakers, 7-13 on back-to-backs since 2023. So that is adding last year too. Let's go just this year. Lakers this year, 3-2 against the spread on back-to-backs. Not as bad. Now, if the Philadelphia 76ers were fully healthy here, if they had Paul George, not fully healthy. Embiid's going to sit whenever his eyebrows probably sitting the wrong way on his forehead. But, I don't mind Tyrese Maxey today at 29.5 points. But before I get off topic here on some player props, if they had Paul George, Maxey, and just the role players there, I'd be leaning the 76ers here, and I even lean the over. Last night, this total was at about 219. Yesterday, we took the under on the Lakers-Hornets game because of a lot of the same reasonings that would apply to today's game versus the Eastern Conference team, and there was a lot of other stats backing up that play yesterday for the under there. But now this line's just dropped down, I think, a little too low. I think it's dropped down a little too low. I almost lean the over now at 216.5. If it had been in that 220 range, low 220s, high 219, 218, more 219, I would probably be staying away. But 216, if it keeps on dropping, I lean the over, man. If this gets down to like 215, it's convincing me almost to want to take the over. But like I said, no Paul George, so it has me staying away there. Has me staying away from the 76ers as well. Only player props I'm really leaning here. Now, a couple guys to point out for the Lakers before I move over to that home team in the 76ers. AD had a monster game yesterday versus the Hornets. If you're looking at Anthony Davis this year, when he goes over his points props, he's always facing a scrub-a-dub team. A scrub-a-dub team. I'm not saying the 76ers are a scrub-a-dub team because over the past couple years, they've definitely had a better reputation. This year, they've definitely dropped off, as we all know. AD could have another game here, but on a back-to-back, I don't want to back AD on a back-to-back. If you want to back AD on a back-to-back, I lean his overs. But for me, on a back-to-back, hell no. And but that 76er team really doesn't have any interior defense. So him and LeBron could have a heyday at the rim here. Another reason why I lean the over, Austin Reeves, I lean his points prop over. So if you're asking me my favorite points prop to probably take over for the Lakers, it would probably be Austin Reeves at 17.5. But even then, still not really in love with it. Tyrese Maxey, 29.5 points. Man, when he's at home, he's landing right. His floor today, I think, is 25 points. So if you want to take Maxey 25 points and you think the Lakers even win, Lakers money line, Tyrese Maxey 25 points, I think that's going to be a solid little one there. Hell, you could even take 76ers on an all spread, whatever you're wanting to do. But I think Maxey's floor is 25 points. That man is landing around 28, 30 plus points every single home game, it seems like recently. And his volume's insane without Paul George. He's had games getting up 25, 30 plus shots without Paul George and Embiid in the lineup. So he could have a game hitting his points prop off of volume alone. But it's a high line at 29.5. You got to hope he shoots a little efficiently. You know what I'm saying? But not really any other player props I'm in love with this one. I know some people may like Kelly Oubre today. I think his point line's just a little too high. I know he's been hitting it 22 points, 8 points, 19, 18, 16. Kind of been flirting with what his point line is at today. You know, I'm not in love with Kelly Oubre. I think he's a very inefficient shooter at times. And if you're looking at his last couple games, 50%, 44. In that game, he only got up 9 shots and only scored 8 points, so he did go under. But then another game, 14 shots, 50%. Every one of his games that he's went over recently, he's been shooting 50% or better. That's what I'll ask you. Do you think Kelly Oubre shoots 50% or better versus the Lakers? If you can answer that confidently and say yes, take his over. He's going to hit it. If you don't think he shoots 50% or better, which I tend to think after a guy's shooting 50% or better 5-6 straight games, he's probably going to regress a little bit. I would be leaning his under, but also this Lakers defense on the road is pretty dreadful, man. So Kelly Oubre, a lot of stats, kind of differing factors there, whichever one you're kind of vibing with. I think I lean the under there at 18.5. Hell, if it goes up to 19.5, I'm playing the under. So that's how I feel about it. Right now it's at 17, 18.5. Do with that as you will. Yabusele, I always butcher his name. He could have a solid one there only because he's going to be like the main guy there. I feel like him and Paul George had been competing for rebounds and even some of like those secondary assists. Yabusele's just not a big guy there, and I think AD could probably dominate in the paint there, so I'm staying away from him as well. But some guys there kind of going back and forth on it. Like I said, if Kelly Oubre goes up to 19.5 points, which I don't know if it will, but if it does, I'm taking the under. And then if this game right here goes down to like 214, 215 on the total, I lean the over pretty heavily there. I'm not saying I would take it, but I lean pretty heavily on it. It would have me definitely wanting to check it out again. So that's how I feel about that second game. Nothing I'm really loving in that one. Let's move on to the third one. Utah Jazz versus the Golden State Warriors. I don't know about you. I know for a fact you're looking at this spread and you're like, really? The Warriors minus 12? If you're sitting here and you're like, I can't believe the Warriors aren't favored by more, I don't know what you've been watching, man, because the Warriors this year, up and down, up and down, up and down. A lot of people in my comments or in my lives and stuff have been saying, hey, Steph Curry, can't rely on him. He's on my ban list. Like, that's the best player on the Warriors. And without Draymond Green, it's basically Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins, and they do got a lot of role players that they rotate in and out of there. So any role player for the Warriors, I am staying away from today. Buddy Hield, not a bad spot because the Jazz are terrible at guarding three-pointers. But he's just so inconsistent. He could go out there and play 19 minutes, and they could play Brandon Podziemski 27 minutes and bring off Santos or whatever his name is off the bench and play him 25 minutes. Like, they just got so many guys that they rotate there that really, I don't love anybody. I mean, Moses Moody, another guy they can go in and throw in and play 25, 30 minutes. Like, they just got too many guys, in my opinion, to feel confident taking anybody over, unless if it's Steph Curry or Andrew Wiggins, because they're probably going to get the volume the most. Buddy Hield could go out there and shoot lights out. It's Buddy Hield. He could also go out there and shoot 3 for 14 and get you the volume, but only make 3 shots. Low line for Buddy. He's one role player that I did look at taking an over for just because he had a monster game versus the Jazz earlier this year. I think he dropped 20, 25 plus points versus the Jazz earlier this year. I can't trust him. And I'm sure there's some people in this video watching this being like, yeah, man, I don't even know what you're talking about him. But some Jazz guys here. Lauri Markkanen, 20.5 points. Some injuries, just like I don't really know what's going on with Jordan Clarkson. Reason I say that, Jordan Clarkson came back from injury, missed about 10 games, came back yesterday. Jazz are on a back-to-back. Does Colin Sexton go out there after missing 10 straight games and his first 2 games back, play on a back-to-back? I don't know. There's a lot of other guys that sat yesterday. Walker Kessler sat yesterday. Does he play today? Same thing with John Collins. John Collins, I'm even seeing he was out yesterday. So if all those guys sit, including even Lauri Markkanen, I got to point him out too. I don't know if Lauri Markkanen is playing on a back-to-back even more than once or twice this year. I'm not joking. Give me a second here. Let me go over to Lauri Markkanen. I don't know if he's had more than like one or 2 games on a back-to-back this year. I don't know if he's had 1 or 2 games on a back-to-back. On a back-to-back, he's played 3 back-to-backs, 7 points, 18, 22. And if you're looking versus the Warriors, he's went under a lot versus the Warriors. Lauri Markkanen doesn't really have great games versus the Warriors. If he hits it, he's scoring low 20s. Now, if everybody sits, I don't know how I can tell you to take a Lauri Markkanen under, but also it would just have me almost leaning Warriors team total over. Warriors, I can't tell you to take the Warriors minus 12.5, man. That just seems too high. But maybe the books are telling you something. Because that spread is around 12, 12.5. But I can't do it, man, with the Warriors. I can't. There's really no props in that game I'm really loving. If you're liking something in that game, let me know in the comments if there's a play that you're really liking. If you're like, hey, man, John Collins, love the spot. Or, hell, Bryce Sensabaugh, whatever his name is, off the bench there for the Jazz. Let me know if you're liking anybody in that game, because my favorite guy that I was looking at, just matchup-wise, when they faced off against each other, was Keontae George for the Jazz, the point guard. But I don't see him on any books. I don't see any props for him. Any props for him whatsoever. So I don't know what's going on there. Don't know what's going on there. But for me, easy stay away today. Easy stay away. Because, like I said, this slate isn't great, and that game's probably my least favorite. The line's weird to me. Everything. Just not loving it. Milwaukee Bucks versus the Portland Trailblazers is the last game on the board. Now, spread's kind of closer than what I was anticipating when looking at this game first. Only spread's about -5.5. -5.5. Not great. Not great. But Bucks this year, they're on a back-to-back. They played yesterday. They are 2-4-1 against the spread on a back-to-back. So let's go look since 2023. Since 2023, I mean, this Bucks team's pretty similar to last year, just maybe a little bit of a different head coach. But since 2023, the start of last year on a back-to-back, 9-11-1, so about 500. Nothing crazy. You can't really, those stats don't really have me leaning one way or the other. But this Trailblazers team's always kind of played competitive with the Bucks. I feel like sometimes you can't put past matchups like years ago really into your thought process. But hey, the Trailblazers have beat the Bucks straight up the last 2 times. And if you're even dating back to 2023, November 26th of 2023, Trailblazers only lost by 6. I mean, the Bucks here on the road and on a back-to-back haven't been that great. And if you watched that Bucks game last night, they were up decent amount going into the fourth quarter, and that game kind of started getting a little bit closer to where they brought back in Giannis and Lillard at the last 4 minutes of that game. So I think if they were blowing them out, would have been up by 20 still, they would have sat Giannis, and he would have only played about low 30s, low 30 minutes. Lillard would have played in that 34, 35-minute range. But now you're looking at it. Giannis played 37 minutes last night, 36, 37, and Lillard played 41, 42 minutes. Chris Middleton doesn't really typically play on a lot of back-to-backs, so if he gets ruled out late, I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like I'm not going to sit here and tell you to lean the Trailblazers, but I do like some player props in this game for the Trailblazers side. Now, the Bucks, I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't look at a lot of Bucks props here because Damian Lillard at 27.5 points, really, really high. He has been balling, man. He's been having a good stretch here with the Bucks, going crazy, man. Typical Damian Lillard type vibes when he was with the Trailblazers, putting up 25-plus points a game. Now, 27.5, going up against his old team, could he do it? Hell yeah, but he played 41, 42 minutes last night. I don't want to take Damian Lillard tonight on that. Giannis, 32.5 points. He also played big minutes, had a monster game yesterday. If you're liking Giannis, rock with it. But there are some Trailblazers props I'm not minding here. Now I'm going to point out some guys. I do have my second best bet in this game, so we are going to get to it. But some guys that I looked at and I was like, you know what? Not a bad matchup, but maybe I'm not taking him. Anthony Simons, 19.5 points here. He did go under last game versus the Trailblazers, but before that scored 3 straight games of scoring 21-plus points. Now, Anthony Simons is another guy, man, that can shoot very inefficiently. Very inefficiently. 9 for 20, 5 for 13, 9 for 22. I mean, he sometimes has games getting up a lot of volume, but in this spot, man, I don't know if I'm loving him, but just pointed out he's had good games versus the Bucks in the past. Like, if you're looking Anthony Simons game log versus the Bucks, he's hitting this line at 19.5 a decent amount. Like, he's going over that a decent amount. So if you like the spot there for him, rock with it. He's just too inconsistent for me on his shot. DeAndre Ayton, I'm seeing still questionable. If he comes back, you know what? DeAndre Ayton's probably the one guy right now that I have lost the most money on this year. I've probably taken 3 or 4 bets on DeAndre Ayton. I'm like 1-3 on Ayton. So I'm done taking Ayton for right now. He just continues to sell me every single game that I like him. But another guy to point out, Scoot Henderson. Scoot Henderson, he has been balling at home. Against the Bucks, I don't know if it's the greatest matchup, but at home, if you're looking Scoot Henderson at home, he's just been going crazy, man. I feel like you guys need to be checking out Scoot Henderson, even if it's not today. Maybe you don't like the matchup for him today. But if you're looking at home this year, especially recently, he's just been going crazy, man. He's been going crazy. About the last, last 5 home games, he's played decent minutes, 39 minutes, 32 minutes, 31 minutes, 38 minutes, 30 minutes. So if he's getting 30 minutes, his point line is hella low today, about 11 and 12.5. Those games that he just played all those minutes in, 30-plus minutes, he scored 39, 16, 21, 25, and 25. It's not the greatest matchup versus the Bucks because they do have a solid interior defense, but you can't tell me if he's scoring 25 points every other game, even in a tough matchup here, that unless if he just shoots horrible, that he's not scoring 11, 12 points, 13 points. I mean, I feel like it's a lower line. Same thing with his assists. I was looking at Scoot a decent amount today. Like, hey, I don't mind him today. But, I think Anthony Simons has a good matchup. Shaden Sharp has even had some decent games versus the Bucks in the past. Earlier this year, scored 16 points. Last year, scored 17 points. So going over his points line, that is Shaden Sharp's line is at today. Now, if you are looking at Shaden Sharp, last couple games here, 24 minutes. Played a game with 40 minutes. 22 minutes, 21 minutes. I feel like they're kind of giving Scoot Henderson a little bit more run there. And if Shaden Sharp's minutes are that inconsistent, I'm staying away from it, especially now today. It's another reason why I'm staying away from Scoot. What if Scoot, they just come out and play Shaden Sharp 30 minutes today and Scoot goes back to playing 25 or 22 minutes? You know what I'm saying? So kind of staying away from them. But one guy I love today, and it brings us to our second best bet, it's Jeremy Grant. I have been smacking on Jeremy Grant this year. I think I'm either 3-1 or 4-0 or 3-0 or 4-0 on Jeremy Grant overs, and we have taken him in this exact spot every time. But it's just over 13.5 points here. He's only hit it 52% of games this year. So hasn't been like just crushing this line, but at home he's hit it 70.6% of games. He's hit it 12 of 17. And it seems like every time he goes under at home, he comes back the next home game and goes over. That's basically what his game log is showing here. But I love the spot here, over 13.5 points. He's been hitting this a decent amount versus the Bucks. Since joining the Trailblazers, he's hit this 3 of his last 4 versus Giannis and versus the Bucks. And like I said, man, at home last year, he hit this line 92% of games. This year's been hitting it at home a decent amount. And this is the perfect time to take Jeremy Grant, is when he has a very down game or a couple down games or poor shooting nights, and he's returning back home in a matchup that he usually plays well in. And I love the spot here, man. He's a great spot-up shooter. I think he's going to hit a couple threes out of that corner, the corner three. I think he goes over 13.5 points today. And if he doesn't, I think he's going to be landing on 13. I really do. I think at worst he lands on the hook. And I know nobody wants to hear that because nobody wants to lose on the hook. But that's how I'm that confident in Jeremy Grant today that that's his floor is 13 points. Like, I think he goes over that. I think he gets up some volume. Last game we scored 2 points versus the Thunder, but I think he bounces back there. That is the third and best bet. Or second best bet. Sorry there. I do have a third bet in my VIP today. Another player prop that is in my VIP. Absolutely smacking in VIP. You guys have been seeing the recap. So I'm going to start showing the recaps exactly how I did today. I'm going to have the video from what I gave out in the video and then in the VIP, kind of separate them a little bit better there. But 4 games, not my favorite slate. Not my favorite slate. I know you guys have heard me say that a couple times. Tomorrow we got another big slate, man. We got another like 10, 11 game slate, 9 game slate. So maybe today, play it very light. Pick out some spots you really like and you're really vibing with. I would not be trying to come up with a 6-man today, a 4-man today, just to have a 4-man parlay. You're just going to lose your money, in my opinion, today if you're trying to go crazy on a lot of plays. Unless if you just have a very good system or you really like some guys today. But for me, those are the 2 best bets. 1 more in VIP. Everything, Discord, free Discord, everything is down in the description. So check out that, man. But hey, let's have a day. Drop a like on the video. I'd appreciate if you guys turn on those noti bells. Drop a like, drop a comment. Let's have a damn good day. Let's continue to run it up, man. 4 games, 2 best bets. Let's go.